and would like to welcome you to our second session, which is called, Are You Here to Save Someone? This session is a little bit different. It is going to be team presented by Carolyn Russo and myself, Stephen Scheid. I want you to take a look at that picture and spend about 10, 15 seconds remembering what it was like to put on the Lone Ranger mask or the cape or whatever it was that you put on when you were little and tried to be a superhero. So welcome to our course. I am going to give you a little bit of perspective. This course is a bit heavy in part of its topic. So if you need to take time within this course for self-care, please do so. It is being recorded and will be shared later. This is really truly a starting course. I called it the 101, but Carolyn helped me remember that means it's a 100 level course for protecting children. And we wanted to start on the personal level. So it's the what you can do personally level course. Next year, we plan to add more learning with a 200 level course in the in-person Methodist Scouters Conference. So today, think about this. Are you here to save someone? This lovely woman is Carolyn Russo, a good friend of mine. And not only is she a good friend of mine, but she is our National Youth Protection Advocate for the General Commission on United Methodist Men and a part of our committee for the National Committee for United Methodist Churches Scouting Committee. She is a Conference Scouting Coordinator for North Texas Annual Conference. She's a member of the BSA National Religious Relations Committee. And she is the director and staff for, has been a director and the staff for multiple Methodist Scouters Conference. I put the logo down at the bottom so that you can understand where we stand. Carolyn and I, along with Gil Henke, have joined an organization, the American Professional Society on the Abuse of Children. We take routine training and opportunities to learn about how to protect and keep children safe. That guy right there, you've already seen. I apologize, you're going to hear from me probably too much today. That was not necessarily the intent, but I am Stephen Scheid, the director for the Center for Scouting Ministries. Carolyn?
All right, good morning, everyone. The world needs heroes. Heroes come in all ages and sizes, and mythical heroes like in the picture, such as Superman, Wonder Woman, Captain America, and the Lone Ranger, are bigger than life, but they're easy to imagine. Everyday heroes are those who help others, do good deeds, show kindness, are brave in the biggest and smallest of moments. In other words, what and who we strive to be as we live the life Jesus wants us to live. Everyday heroes show their heroism in their actions and in their hearts. Even when we're dealing with adults, we are dealing with the experiences that happened to them as children. Those scars and experiences stay with them and shape the person that child becomes.
We need heroes because abuse harms the whole of the person. This is the part where it gets heavy for the next couple slides. So I want you to think about it. Speaking from a faith perspective, abuse harms the ability to connect with God, the church, and with others. Children of abuse experience the pain the whole of their lives. We think that, yeah, bruises will heal, and they do. But even if the body shows no signs, there's no more marks on it, it still remembers. It remains in the scents a person smells, touches, places a person may go, or feelings that take years and years to process. Trusted people become untrustable. What we don't often think about is the vast majority of abused people know their abuser. Obviously, at some point they trusted their abuser. It makes the challenge of trust as palpable as the first step over the cliff's edge when you're rappelling. If you cannot trust a person whom you can see, then how can you trust one whom you can't see? Also, abuse harms future relationships. Those relationships are damaged before they begin. Think about the human body. When you have a scar, the scar is not as flexible as the original tissue. The other problem is it's also more sensitive to hot, to cold, and to pain. When abuse happens to a child, particularly, it scars their spirit. That scar lasts for a long time. Children who have experienced one adverse childhood event are more likely to experience additional abuse. The thing is, predators look out and they look and they go, oh, there's a potential victim. After a child's been victimized, predators have the ability to sense that. They go from looking at a child as a potential victim to seeing a victim. They have a profile that they look for. I want to share this video with you, and I want you to think about what I say as it goes. Where the light is the brightest, the shadows cast are the longest. Faith, religious, and values-based organizations. We must watch more carefully. The light must be shown in all that we do. The purpose and history of our organizations is profound. We have a promise. On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help other people at all times. We commit to help other people. Our first campfire handbook offered a law to live by. Seek beauty, give service, pursue knowledge, and be trustworthy. Who are good? Remember, where the light is the brightest, the shadows are the longest. That is for both good and bad. It is hard to understand that you cannot see on the backside of the good guy perpetrator. It becomes even harder to see them once they stand in our light. They know our words. They put on our clothes, and they want to share time with us. But when the truth is revealed, that damage, that harm to a child stretches far beyond the victim or the immediate group. It does not start with the worst offense, but it slowly and innocuously creeps into the brain. Keep the light bright and the caution high. The halo effect that comes from being in a community that is based on values and faith is powerful. Children will look up at their scoutmaster or their troop leader, and they see the hero reflected in them. I know after years of service that leaders are no longer just people. They're superheroes. You have cast an invincible shadow for good. You have given youth an image of what a hero looks like. We need everyday heroes today. That is, heroes with a little h, not the big one, not Superman or Batman, but little h heroes. Rodney Bullard, in his book, Heroes Wanted, opens the door for us to see how we can cast the good long shadow.
So what is an everyday hero? They are as ordinary as they are special, and they are each of us. Everyday heroes have these characteristics in common, though, as you see on the screen. Without each of these 9 characteristics and without Christ, heroes cannot exist. We are called to commit with compassion, to make those connections with people full of conviction that will serve our communities. We must have courage. Just like the Scout Oath says, we must be brave. We must act with charity, and we must have the confidence to do as Christ asks us to do for all people, all of the time. That is what makes an everyday hero.
The first thing that happens in being called to be a hero is to understand your heart's purpose. We cannot know what's in the hearts of an evil person, but we can see the hurt that the hearts in their hearts and the souls of their victims. A child may ask you for help in a variety of ways. Your challenge is to know how to respond without doing further harm. But first, you must hear the calling to help and the calling for help. This is the model of Christ in the world: calling, following, hearing those in need. Are you ready to commit to be a hero? Are you willing to take on the call of Christ? Are you willing to be there for someone else? As a hero, your call is to give your all for someone else. This is your full measure. This is your mission.
As you become a hero, change your internal dialogue from "I can only do this much" to "only I can do this right here, right now, for these right reasons." How many times has your own fear kept you from moving forward? Make a commitment. Show up. Be present. Be there for those who need you and your only gifts. In an uncertain world, choose to be a child's certainty. Let those around you see your commitment to being a hero, because you never know when they are going to need you to be there for them. On a personal note, and I have permission to share this from the family involved, recently I received a call from a youth and their parent. The youth had attended a camp I taught at a few years ago. They remembered that I dealt with youth protection situations and trainings and told their parent, "I think we should call Mrs. Russo." The youth was obviously distressed, and the parent was able to obtain my new cell phone number through scouting contacts. During that call, the youth told me they were having suicidal thoughts. This was news to their parents and to me, not an easy moment. However, part of my hero training, and that's little h hero, included mental health first aid training, and I was ready. I asked the youth the questions we practice in training. Do you have a plan? They answered yes. Do you have what you need to carry out your plan? Again, they answered yes. My last question was, what can we do right now to help you not carry out your plan? Fortunately, the youth trusted me enough to reach out for help and to stay in the conversation with me, with their parent, to talk through what the plan was, where the supplies were gathered for that plan, and to agree to get help. While we talked, the parent was able to summon another adult via text to come to the family home immediately. The family physician was called, and arrangements were made to get this youth into a safer place to receive medical assessment that night. The parent had no idea that the youth's closet was set up for a suicide. Without that call, they likely would have awoken to a dead child. I almost didn't take that call. It was late at night. I was tired. I didn't recognize the phone number that was calling. But something or someone, God, I believe, put me in that moment with the right training and the heart to be even a little h hero. There was no superhero cape involved. I was in my pajamas. Help was what that youth needed right then, and I was able to help. I'm so grateful that that youth is now in treatment and doing very well. I had no idea that they would remember me or know that they could call me in a crisis, but they did, and thank God they did. We give of ourselves in the hopes that God will use us to help one another.
So we start with calling. We move to commitment. But we can't be committed without compassion. Finishing well as a hero is not about finishing first. It is about reaching to the cross for those God has called us to care for, to shepherd, to mentor, to love. You know, I got to tell you, when you're on the trail with a group of 12 and the one kid with ADHD has pushed everybody to the edge, and you can turn to them and say, we're going to make it, and share your love and compassion, those are moments when your heart is stretched. But that stretching is the kindness that's needed to spread the love of God. And every person in the group will feel it. And even if it's only for a moment, it actually is that kindness that can win over evil. If a child or adult can see that you have the heart of a servant leader, that you have someone, that you are someone that they can trust, that you could be that person becomes their hero, then your heart's visible. They say, You might say it, you wear your heart on your sleeve. Well, maybe that's a perfect place for it. Your compassion, your heart to serve, hanging on your sleeve is an open door and an invitation. Make sure your heart is visible. Being a hero isn't a super job. It's a job of superb joy and sorrow. But in being a part of it, you also have a chance to change the world.
Our most basic need in our spiritual life is to connect. We do that in love, we do that through Christ, and we do that in how we help one another. Without connection, all is lost. We do that not for our own good, but for the good of the world around us and the ministry that we as God's disciples are taught to do. Christ is our hero, and that's big H and little h. In all things, we try to model his life, his teachings, and his sacrifice. Despite our own failings, we can still be heroes. We need to love. We need to have listening, openness, vulnerability, and empathy in order to be heroes.
I want you to hear me in my mistake. So we're talking about conviction. And so I'm going to tell you a personal story about something I was convicted of, and take it with a grain of salt, please. Maybe you can learn from me. When I first moved to South Carolina for the second time, I took an engineering job with a promising metals company. We made powdered metals. That company was growing. They had lots of plans for expansion and lots of extra property to grow on. I could see their future. And when 2008 came, as the markets crashed, so did the metals market. That company I was a part of was now a problem. They had hundreds of millions of pounds of material that were on the floor, and they were worth $8 a pound one day. And over 3 days, they were only worth $1.80 a pound. The company struggled, and it ended up reconsolidating, downsizing, and it ended up sold. I stuck with it through them. I could see that the metals had not changed. The foundations of the company were solid. We were experiencing that was something totally different, maybe like COVID today. But my faithfulness was rewarded with an increase in responsibility and a bonus financially each year based on performance. Well, the nice thing is, because we were solid in our foundation, we made a comeback. So my bonus was pretty nice. But in my mind, it wasn't budgeted money. It was money that was a gift from God. I had been blessed beyond our plans or needs or even desires. So I put it into the scouting and ministry into my local church. After a few years, we needed a new car, and I had just gotten my annual bonus. The conversation with my wife wasn't so good. I told her, well, we can just go buy one. And she said, well, how are we going to do that? I said, well, I just got my bonus. I had forgotten to tell her I'd been getting a bonus for years. I recommend not doing that. So we talked about it. She did the math. And the next day she let me know that the house would have been paid for completely if I had not used the money the way I did. While this was true, our conversation settled on what we were both convicted of. There was a need for ministry. There was an intense need for ministry. She agreed with the use of the funds, because my wife, if you've ever met Connie, is amazing. She has a very generous heart and shared convictions with me. Well, I want you to realize is our convictions are something that God places on us. But if we share and explain them, we also gather support, and we can go even further together. Ask yourself, what has God convicted you of? What are you willing to give to make a difference? Who are you willing to invite into your commitment and your convictions?
Community comes in so many forms. The community that endures, overcomes, plans, tries, fails, and never gives up until they succeed. But what kind of community do you have already? One that needs you to be a hero? Are you ready to be a hero, to be brave for your community, even if it means sacrifice on your part? Can you share your compassion and resilience to give another person hope? Heroes join with others to form bridges of compassion, resilience, and hope. Rodney Bullard said that, and that is the cornerstone of what we do in a community.
We have to have a heart for courage. Joshua 1:9 reads, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." That includes into the den meeting when there are 8 crazy kids. That includes sitting down with the brownies and the glue. Heroes come from preparation. They learn and grow and work. Then for some, there is a moment when the spark connects with the fuel. There's an incredible act. It may be an act of resistance, an act of mercy, or an act of character. God calls us each into the refiner's fire throughout our lives. We experience the shaping and changing of our metal. Then comes the time when the last of the dross is drawn out of us, and he looks into the pot, and God sees a true reflection of himself. The years of service, personal challenge, prepare heroes for the reflection point. Are you ready to reflect the image of God? We must be courageous enough to continue to grow and change personally. The best of heroes are the best reflectors of the refiner.
In 1 Corinthians, we're told, "And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these 3, but the greatest of these is charity." We're not talking about the charity of giving something to someone. We're talking about God's charity to us, his love, his kindness, and his charity, which was the example of Jesus Christ and the greatest gift we were given as the Son of God. He gave the ultimate sacrifice for our sins. So remember to be kind, be charitable. Remember that everyone needs, many times along the path of life, to have charity extended to them. Charity is not a handout. It is a hand up, a hand to hold, a hope, and a healing. Be that heart of charity and love.
Be confident. We are called to exist in the confidence of whose we are. I want you to hear that again. We are called to exist in the confidence of whose we are. You were created. You are a child of the King, a royal priesthood, a peculiar people, a light on the hill. I could go on and on. God planned you. The point is, we are not the clothes we wear, our status, or our outward packaging. It's funny, we do this kind of thing all the time. What do you do for a living? Where do you live? What do you volunteer in? We're much more than what we do or what we have. We must reflect that more. We must expect more. In all of these, we share confidence that is unshakable. Now, this doesn't mean that we won't have flaws or questions. The person best suited to be a hero not only has flaws, but has experienced the pain which leads to empathy. As my grandfather used to say, the deepest wells have had the most removed. They also hold the most. When we can truly empathize, when we can stand in somebody else's shoes, we can truly be a hero for somebody who's in pain or at loss or just lonely. And we can say with the highest of confidence, it gets better. I know.
So what do we have to offer? We can offer ourselves. There are specific program guidelines to help you be a hero. Safe sanctuaries, safe gatherings, Girl Scouts of the USA, Campfire Club, and Scouts BSA all have their own guidelines and trainings to help you achieve the goal of youth protection. Do you realize that defeating the abusive monster before it does damage is incredibly heroic? If you move to a place of deep heroism, you will see the potential of those dangers and those potential joys. Remember, we are always dealing with the hearts and minds of children, whether at the age of a child, a youth, or adult. The monster of abuse is always present, no matter what the age the victim may be.
So I want to share what the importance of staying safe is. Being a hero is being safe. So did you catch how youth safety programs connect with living in faith and being a hero? You are building heroes while you invest in youth. You are building heroes while you invest in adults. And you become their hero. You protect other adults by keeping the light shining, by watching their back. The biggest thing you can do is be present. Where the light is present, the darkness cannot be. So I want you to think about someone. Mr. Fred Rogers has become to be seen as a national hero. He spoke clearly, slowly, and deeply with most everyone he met. He offered the commencement address at Dartmouth College. And Fred put it like this: I'd like to give you all an invisible gift, a gift of a silent minute to think about those who have helped you become who you are today. Some of them may be right here now. Some may be far away. Some, like my astronomy professor, may even be in heaven. But wherever they are, if they've loved you and encouraged you and wanted the best in your life for you, they're right inside you. And I feel that you deserve quiet time, a special occasion to devote some thought to them. So let's take a minute to honor the heroes, those who have cared about us along the way. Please join me in 1 minute of silence. In our noisy world, 60 seconds of silence seems like a long time. I hadn't planned who I would think about, but I thought of Dennis Johnson, an assistant scoutmaster who joined the Boy Scouts and had no sons, but he always gave. I thought of Harry Davis, my debate coach, of Stephen Johnson, my sixth grade teacher, whom through some challenges of my own, I actually stood up and slugged in class, and he forgave me. Not only did he forgive me, he helped me grow. Whomever you've been thinking about, imagine how grateful they must be that during your silent times, you remember how important they are to you. It's not the honors and the prizes, the fancy outfits, the outsides of life which ultimately nourish our soul. It's the knowing that we can be trusted, that we never have to fear the truth, that the bedrock of our lives from which we make our choices is very good stuff. Anyone who does anything to help a child in his or her life is a hero. You too can be a hero. Keeping children safe is just the beginning. You have questions?
So Stephen and Carolyn, you guys are open for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. So if you guys would tap them into the chat string, I'll be glad to share them.
Elaine shared a quote by Neil Peart in Traveling Music, and I think she's absolutely spot on. She listens. It says, maybe the role models we really need are found all around us, right in our own neighborhoods, not some remote model of perfection that exists only as a fantasy, frustratingly unattainable, but everyday people who actually show us by example the way to behave that we can see is good, and sometimes even people who can show us what it is to be excellent. I couldn't agree more. That's what a hero is with the little h, and the kind that we can actually approach. Thank you, Elaine.
It doesn't matter what hero outfit, what uniform, jeans and a t-shirt you're wearing. It's the everyday acts, the ordinary trainings, and your everyday relationship with God that will leave you prepared for the time your hero moment comes. Listen for that calling. Respond with compassion as you can. But remember to be courageous, because being a hero can be pretty scary. And go with confidence in Christ, because he's led us to be a hero. He has given us the tools. We may not know it, but he's given us the tools to be a hero. You can do this. You're already a hero. Did you know that? Y'all are already heroes.
Okay, we appreciate your time. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. We will start again at 5 minutes after. But I want you guys to understand that when we talk about youth protection, safe sanctuaries, child safety, it's an everyday, every moment kind of thing. And it really comes from caring about people. So I really do appreciate you, and we're gonna cut it off, and we will be back in about 25 minutes. This gives you time to get your 7th cup of coffee, or whatever you would like to do. Get a snack, because we're getting late in the day on the East Coast. So I appreciate it, and we'll be back shortly.